Welcome back to another episode of Uploaded and Unfiltered, the podcast in which I, your host Jermaine, interviews another content creator in regards to their journey thus far. Today, I have a special guest. I've been wanting to talk to this guest since the first time that I seen a few of their Instagram reels. I was like, yo, this person knows what the fuck they're talking about. I need them on the show. And guess what? It happened because I intended to. It happened and it did. Anyways, I'm going to read her bio before we get her on, get a little bit of information about her, and then we're going to have an amazing conversation. Danielle J is a social media marketer, data strategist, and producer who loves to dive into the world of technology. She has over 10 years of experience in media and technology through the avenue of social media, radio, and video production. And with that, I'd like to introduce my guest for the evening. Danielle, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Yay, thank you for having me. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am excellent. I'm glad we were able to get this on the books. We were having some, scheduling issues, but luckily we're both flexible as hell. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
So Danielle, I'm going to start this the way that I start every episode because I'm nosy. How did you get started in content creation?
Oh my God. I got started before it was called content creation.
Okay. This is going to be fun. Do tell.
So the way I originally got started was that I was a hacker. I would do unethical hacking.
Okay.
But
didn't see that coming.
This is crazy. Okay, so back in the day, when MySpace first rolled out, right?
Damn. All right.
Right, and Black Planet.
Okay, we're not going to talk about Black Planet.
Take it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Does that still exist?
No.
Okay. That's crazy.
Rip to a real one because
yeah, for real.
Black Planet was everything.
Hell
but yeah, back then I learned how to make pages look dope, right? And I was just like, cool. If you want the songs on there, you want the glitter words.
Exactly.
So I didn't know that skill set was called web development because it was HTML and CSS, right? Didn't know. Just a little, black girl from the ghetto making cute MySpace pages and Black Planet. So that turned into an interest into like, well, how does this thing actually work? Because I've always been that person of like, I want to see the sausage being made for, lack of better analogy. And I really started getting into like creating posts that got engagement. And then from there it was like, how do they know that this is engaging? How does this platform understand what I'm putting out there? What's the ones and zeros behind it, like the Matrix? And I actually end up hacking Facebook in its early iterations. Got a cease and desist letter from them, which I have framed at my mama's house.
Okay.
And I hacked Twitter because back then they were small enough to where the security just was not there,
Right.
And I'm sure you could still hack it. I mean, the way that I did, not necessarily, the way people hack it now, I think it's just lazy hacking to like, oh, we're going to get your email address. We're going to get your login and we're going to access you, right? I was behind the scenes on their computers. Like I'm looking at what they're looking at.
Okay.
And
man.
It was a wild time. But yeah, that's how I got into this whole social media content creation ordeal was because I was making pages for other people and I just thought it was really cool, fun, artistic outlet. My mom is from a third world country, so you got to be a doctor or a lawyer or some type of like high caliber something with math and science. Well, I was always good at math, good at science, but my mom just didn't have faith in it, so she kind of put me into like the arts and stuff.
Right.
And then as soon as I came home, I was like, I want to be an artist. I just want to go make art. She was like, no, you're going to be a starving artist. So then she switched it up on me again. And then it went to psychology. So then at that point, social media really was like the things I was learning in the books as far as like seeing people's behavior and seeing like what actually got people to tick and, all this stuff like that. And then when I started hacking it is when I really started realizing like, oh, we are easily manipulated. This is crazy.
Yes. Yeah.
We're believing a little bit too much of this stuff. Oh no.
Man, that's crazy. Holy, that's insane. Like, so early on, you were in a position because you had psychology to see it like in real time, like how it was working.
It's interesting too, because it's like people have always been hesitant about the internet, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, since its early inception, we know that people are like, what? No, I don't want to use the internet for X, Y, and Z. But if you think about some of the first social engagements on the internet, like AOL chat, like AIM, ASL was like the most
first thing.
Man, that's a hacker's dream.
Yeah, right?
Text location for those who don't know, who are listening, who are like,
yeah,
what's
younger.
ASL?
What's that? Sex location.
And folks lying. Yes. I know I lied. I'm like, I'm 25 years old and I'm in Florida because that sounded cool.
Right.
But, it's like this idea of privacy has always been a top of the mind thing. But because we're humans, we kind of fall into the same patterns of like being gullible when it comes to like certain things and how people present online. And that's why now we're seeing like this huge shift happen where everybody's questioning everything.
Yeah.
And while it's good on one hand, on the other hand, it's also very dangerous because now it's like, if you are a reputable source or if you have done the research or you have put in the sweat equity so that you can say like, hey, I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You have to fight 10 times harder just to get your content in front of people to let them know like, hey, I'm actually a verified source. Like I'll say even with your content of the what to get me for Father's Day.
Yeah.
The great angle on that is comedy because you're actually, poking fun at things, but you're also being serious like, hey, these things are dope, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You found an Achilles heel with that because people are so gullible. There are people in your comments, I saw it, where they were just like, well, I mean, if you like upset, mad,
yes.
If this is what you want for Father's Day, then just say that or whatever. And it's just like, gotcha.
Hold on, man. Hold on.
Gotcha.
Thanks for the engagement.
Yeah, appreciate you all. And trolls are at an all-time high too, which I don't like.
Yes, they are. Yes. So as far as like the avenues from social media to radio to video, were you doing? At what point did you call it content creation? I guess
I didn't call it content creation until the person who wrote the check called it content creation. Like honestly,
yeah.
Like I didn't call myself an influencer until Amazon cut me a check, and they called me an influencer. Then it was like, okay, I'm an influencer. But I think I am one of those people who is really, really in denial about what my actual title is on this internet landscape. Because I do so much, right? Because I know the back end side and the front end side in technology, which is the industry that I've worked in for many, many years. I would be considered a full stack developer.
Okay.
I could accept that, but in this content creation realm, what do you call it when somebody knows both sides of the coin? I know how to do the data analysis. I know how to break down the things on like a psychological level. I know how to create and design and do all these things. So what do you call yourself? Content creator was like the best way of putting it at one point, but now that it's so saturated, I don't even know if that fits anymore,
Right. Yeah, because I think when I think content creator now, it doesn't have a lot of the data analysis or like they don't know the back end of everything that's happening, the psychology. So it's definitely ripe for a new term, but like, what would that term be? I feel like feel like you're about to make up a new word at some point and you're like, hey, this is what I am. This is
what's interesting is my on my podcast last season, first episode, I said, let's throw away the word influencer. Let's get rid of this ideology that you need to be an influencer and influence people and start becoming disruptors. Because to be disruptive in an industry means that you are literally a thought leader. You are like carving out the conversation. You're making things like actually relevant, or how else would it be said? Like a trendsetter or somebody who, it starts the thing. Let's start being like that as opposed to this idea of like an influencer or a content creator. I think, unfortunately, with content creation, because it's such a vast net, it means that you could do everything and nothing at the same time.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Unfortunately.
Somebody reposts me all day, they'll be considered a content creator. A person who edits 100 hours a week so that they can have like these really crisp, beautifully produced pieces of content as a content creator. And I don't think that's fair.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. I never thought about that till now. Listen, I'm already learning stuff. Holy crap. Danielle, before we stay on this subject for the rest of the night, because I could, this is exactly the stuff that my brain starts just triggering, like,
Yeah.
But before we do that, I want to know, let's change it up a bit and talk about what you're doing in your content journey right now as far as the content you're creating.
Yeah.
Including what's your mindset like, what's your confidence level like, and where do you see yourself in like 3 to 6 months as far as your content goes?
Oh man, I'm so glad you asked this because I literally just drew this out the other day.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's see if you remember it. Okay.
You know when it's new, you be like, hold on, let me grab my notebook.
I want to do hey, it's cool as long as you get it out.
I want to do Dungeons and Dragons content. And I was like, no,
wait, hey, listen. Okay, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
It was bait.
It was bait. I was like, no. Okay. So for real then. Almost.
I'm like the clown from It. I just say like certain keywords to get you going.
Yeah. I don't like this.
That's so funny. No, but right. I think the biggest thing for me right now, because I'm back on the radio, I had taken a hiatus and now I'm back on the radio, but I've been doing podcasting this whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is to become a better storyteller through my content. And I've done a bunch of research on what that looks like for myself because, everybody's way of telling stories is different. Mm-hmm. And I used my actual stories on Instagram to be like a focus group.
Right.
What kind of stories are people interested in hearing from me, this, that, and the third, or whatever? And how can I really, get those stories to resonate and hit home for myself and for anybody who's, participating in that content? So what content creation looks like for me right now? I am just piecing together all of the things that I'm doing because I'm doing a lot.
Yes.
And really just kind of showing like the behind the scenes, the personality side, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, but adding like the fun elements to it because in the past, what has happened is like, it'll be like too much lifestyle stuff. And it's really from like a reality TV show kind of angle.
Okay.
Nobody gives a damn about your life that much. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're like Will Smith or somebody who's already big, right?
Yes.
So
agreed.
That in and of itself was problematic. Or it was too technical.
Okay.
And where, people want to see the how-tos and all those things like that. There has to be a happy balance between these two. And for me, it's storytelling. So the content right now is slowly making that shift so that these two worlds can kind of meld together and be that new voice for myself. In about 3 to 6 months, I see myself being able to do more like hits on the street type content where I can go out and talk to people about the different types of things that I want to have on my page, like in tech, because I'm going to like Afrotech.
Yeah.
I've been to CES a few times. I've been to different type of conferences. And I'm like, it'd be really dope to go talk to people, bring their stories to my page and, get that out there and stuff. So I see myself in 3 to 6 months being more like a correspondent at these events and then bringing that storytelling element back to, my page.
Yeah. That sounds dope. It's been a while since I've been to CES, but I always enjoy not so much the recaps of this is all the technology there, but and this is going to sound weird, but this is what I would do. Like specifically like this guy, I know a little bit about tech. I want to see the most random stuff here, like the stuff that like everybody's not talking about. And there's some gems that come out of that. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be dope.
Yeah. Or like, why is this important? Right? Like you can go talk to a guy who's a programmer or developer on something and be like, hey, I see y'all over here cooking. Why?
Yes. Excite me or inform me.
Yeah. Give me the real scoop. Like, what's your hot take on your thing that you're doing? And why is it better than X, Y, and Z?
Exactly.
We don't have enough of those type of hot takes.
That would be dope. In regards to the blending of your two approaches, in your storytelling, because I feel like there's a lot of people who struggle with that storytelling piece. I'm going to include myself in that. And how did you go about researching how your storytelling would go, if that makes sense?
So I started off by thinking about the folks that I follow who I like the stories that they tell. And it's so funny because when you kind of change your approach, you start realizing like stories are being told all the time. It's just a matter of like if you're seeing it as a story or if you're just kind of being numb and getting it as just information, right?
Right.
So I started looking at a lot of the comedians, the way that they're telling their stories to make you laugh. And I'm just like, that's really clever. Like, I really like the way that they chose to not tell you this piece of the story yet, or to like, kind of misdirect you just long enough so that when they do tell you what it is, it's like a huge surprise,
Right.
And I started really looking at these stories that I like hearing about. And from there, I started looking at YouTube channels of like writers because they are always talking about storytelling. It's like the hero's journey or like all these different ways to tell stories.
Right.
I'm like, okay, cool. Then I started asking my friends, hey, what's something I told you about that you said just thought was ridiculous? Like, what was something that you just, and they'll retell a story that I told them, and then I'll start piecing it together. Like, you know what? I remember how I told that story. Okay, I get it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just really that work of like reframing it because unfortunately, because there's so much content out there and there's so many different ways that you receive information, sometimes it can feel like just a whole bunch of white noise. Yes. And we don't even know that we're listening to a story, or we're listening to the news, or we're listening to X, Y, and Z. We're just kind of in the mix of it. But if you reframe yourself that way, when you sit in it, you're like, wait, okay, I can see a beginning, a middle, and end to this, or I can see this person's voice opposed to this other person, like the crime mystery channels on TikTok, where they're telling the story about like what happened, their retelling of what happened in these cases and stuff. Really listen to how they're telling these stories.
True.
And you'll start seeing like, okay, I like that they did that. Okay, I could do something like that.
Yeah, nice. That is dope. One thing that, as I'm listening to you, and I'm just going to point this out for the people who are not as amazing as I am as listening, but essentially, like, you needed to find what worked for you. Like, you did your research to see what kind of different flavors are out there. And then again, you said you looked at the creators who you enjoy, but ultimately that story from your friend or remembering how you tell stories, like that is what I think most of us should be chasing. Is like, all right, well, how does this work for me? And then go with that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
You passed. Congratulations. No, just playing.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to switch it up now. Again, lessons learned. This was one of my favorite questions in which I asked my guest of the evening, what lesson have you learned specifically because you started creating content?
This one's really big and just happened, honestly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm I feel like I might be Jamaican because I got like 17 different lives that I've lived, but I used to be an athlete, right? And when you play sports, you learn how to go numb.
Yes.
Numb to the pain, numb to the criticism, numb to all the things. The only thing that matters is winning and like putting yourself in a position to win, right? So I carried that energy over into content creation and my career and everything else. The problem with that mentality when you're creating content is that when things don't work, or when these algorithms change, or when these platforms switch up on you, you're really at a loss, right? Because your identity is so tied to winning that you start looking at the analytics and you start really bogging down your creative process. And you don't even create anymore. Like, I got to the point where I stopped making content altogether. I was just like, I can't win at this, right? Well, what I learned recently about that is that I have always hated being bad at something. So therefore, if I'm going to be bad at it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But that stemmed back into like another psychological thing that we could probably talk about on a whole different episode, whole different day. But what I learned about myself is that I have to give myself the grace to be bad at something, because being bad at it is actually how you get started in anything.
Right.
Like, even when I played sports, it's hard for me to remember when I was bad at it because I started when I was so young. But I sucked. I remember my mom literally pulled me out of my first basketball game because I jammed my finger. And it was the first time I ever jammed my finger. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. She yanked me out of there so fast when I tell you. She's like, you're not about to embarrass me. Like, come back when you're ready, 8 years old. How am I supposed to know when I'm ready. But thanks, Mom. Like, but the truth of the matter is you are going to suck at the thing before you get good at it. Speaking in this format, you probably had to practice by speaking to your friends first or talking, at work or wherever. And then you transfer those skills into this.
Right.
But you have 10,000 plus hours of practice of speaking so that you can do this podcast,
Yeah, true.
So it's like for somebody to just buy a microphone off of Amazon and think they're going to have this grade A podcast is insane.
Yes.
Down with all the podcasts minus this one of mine.
He's like, hey, come on now. Yeah, I think that's important. Like, you forget that you need to, there's a time period where things are going to be shaky. You're going to suck. It's not going to be at the quality you want it to be. But if you remember, like, this is where I want to end up, like, all this part is fun. Like, my first 10 episodes were like up and down, but I was like, no, I'm going until I hit a certain number. So these are just cannon fodder. Like, this is me learning the process. So I love that.
Yeah, you got to be bad to be good. And unfortunately, when and this is going to sound cocky, but when you're good at things naturally, it's even worse for you because to be bad at something is almost like a spit in the face. Like, me?
Yes.
I'm bad? Like, that's crazy. Ew.
So as someone, because my daughter is like if there's something that she's bad at, she's like, I'm not doing that shit. Like, it's not happening. What made you... So, okay, I guess here's the question. What was it that you were quote unquote bad at that you were like, I'm not doing this? And what made you push past that feeling and be like, I'm doing it?
Man. So I was I was making videos that were very much coded in like the early 2000s feel when I came back from my hiatus.
Yeah.
Right? I'm introducing myself right away. I'm doing all this stuff. Like my whole order was just jumbled up because the way that I knew to make content, I was still doing it that way.
Right.
But because everything has shifted, you can't do it that way anymore, But I just wasn't picking up on the new way. Gotcha. And I'm like, I suck at this, bro. Like, I'm not good. This is trash. And I'm not getting better. And the views are trash. Like, I just want to do this no more. How about that? Yeah. How about I just stick to stories and keep it pushing? But what happened was like, well, first of all, I'm competitive just naturally. So I'm looking at other people who are not the best and they're doing good. And I'm just like, I could do that shit. Like, why am I limiting myself when this person had absolutely no fear in putting that raggedy ass video out there and get these million views? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Why am I limiting myself when this person is limitless and what they're putting out is not even that great? And I got a message and I have a really clear message and I have a thing that I'm really trying to do with it, Exactly. And once I got to that part of it, it was like, all right, look, you can either, as my mom would say, you can shit or get off the pot.
Which one we're doing?
Hey, go ahead and take that dump. You got to do it. You got to shit on people. Come on. Shit on them. And I mean, that's the lowest form of motivation, right? Like that is the lowliest form of motivation. Shit on people. Right.
Yeah.
But if that's what gets the job done, shit on people until you get to that point where you're like, oh, I don't have to shit on them no more.
Right.
I can now shit on older versions of myself, right?
Yes. Hell yeah. Oh my God. That was... All right, we got the quote of the podcast because 100%. Yes, like older versions of me. I'm like, man, you were scared to do this? Look at what look at it. Look what happened when you did it. Like that's crazy powerful. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's always so much better than what we make it up in our minds to be.
Yes.
Like it's Goliath-sized thing that we're looking at when we first want to get to that thing. But then when you do it, you're like, fam, it was the size of a goddamn paperclip.
Yeah. Yes.
I was scared of this.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Like editing, for example. When I started editing video, because I'm not even like a consistent editor now, but when I first started looking at editing, I was like, oh no, I can't do that. Y'all wow. Y'all want me to do what? You want me to make the text pop up on the screen?
Right? It's like, yeah, no? Okay.
When I first saw TikTok and people take it even further back. Okay. When I saw Vine and people were making Vines, 7 seconds of just...
just, wow. You're funny in 7 seconds?
You told a whole story in 7 seconds, fam?
Yeah.
We literally have a cliffhanger and an ending in 7 seconds?
Yes.
And you want me to do that? No.
Yeah, my brain don't work like that. It still don't. And I appreciate those Vines, okay, the positive thing I took from those Vines is anything is possible. Like, somebody made a whole ass story in 7 seconds. There's a whole movie in 4 or 5 Vines.
Yeah. Like I remember there was this guy who was so unhinged. He was in the woods. It was him and his cousin. And he would just talk just crazy. Like these stories that he would tell, it'd be like him as a pimp getting women. And they're obviously just not true. They're just him talking crazy to his cousin. And this is them just, acting a fool. But in 7 seconds, he would we would know the woman's name. We would know where they was at. We knew what the next thing was. And then he would always end with something ridiculous. And then he would state that he was the man in these streets. And that was the whole 7 seconds. But, when you look at the editing tools and you look at all the things and it's overwhelming and you're just like, oh man, I couldn't do that. You specifically, I know, could tell a really good story in 7 seconds. Think of any hook that you've done for any of your videos. That's your video. Done.
Yeah. Like when you sit there and think about it and break it down 100, I think with anything, editing, you're sitting there, you want me to do what? But once you get in there and start doing it, you're like, oh, that's all y'all be doing?
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Yeah. I had to check myself the other day because I was playing Call of Duty and I'm trying to get this freaking skin for my gun, right? I'm trying to, get this camo. And that's oh, you got to use these guns, but you got to get 100 headshots on each one of them. And I'm like, 100 headshots? 100?
Yeah.
I got it in 3 games.
Hey, hold on. You said 3 games?
3 games.
Wow, you are sweaty. All right. So if I need to be carried in Call of Duty, I'm coming. I'm going to be Danielle. I need a carry. I'm gonna jumping that backpack.
Listen, my back is strong from all the carrying I do.
Hell yeah. That is amazing. So while we're on the subject of streaming, I know we kind of went away from current mindset in regards to the content you're making. How are you implementing streaming into your overall package? Is it now for funsies, or what are you looking to do with it?
So with streaming, I use that for community, right?
Yes.
It's the diehard Danielle people. Well, I wouldn't even say Danielle people. The people who like the vibes. Yes. So my community is called the fam. And the fam don't play about Danielle. That's one thing I noticed really early on. When the trolls would come through, I had folks, they were just really good about moderating before I even assigned moderators, right?
That's dope. But hell yeah.
With streaming specifically, even when I do the live broadcasts from TikTok or from Instagram or whatever, that's really for the community, right?
Yeah.
Where they get to ask questions or we get to just talk or whatever. And I think that it's a great place for me to just continue to double down on my personality and my ethos. Because every brand has an ethos. And the better you get about showing your ethos and sharing your ethos with your community, the deeper the ties and the bonds get with your community. And that's how Kai Cenat and Drewski and all these other cats are really winning, is that people really rock with the things that they stand for,
That's true. Yeah.
Even if they don't inherently say it that way, they are literally oh no, we rock with all these things and we're trying to help these folks get to that next part in their career because we're a part of it now, right?
True.
So that's how I treat streaming, as really just that that piece of community that is so free form that it doesn't need anything. I have graphics on the screen, but we're not doing all the extra stuff. We're not doing the popping up and all. No distractions. It's just us. And then we play games, or I make work dates. So I'll be working on stuff for my radio show, and people start asking questions about how I'm doing certain things because I'm a technical person. So I'm using AI for different parts, or I'm using different tools that they may not have seen, different things inside of Canva that they're what? Well, I didn't know Canva can even do that. And I'm I got you, fam. Like, let's talk about it,
Good.
So, yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's how streaming
I like
adds
it.
to the pot.
I like it. Keeping it nice and low key. And like you said, spreading your ethos of your personality. I think a lot more people need to move towards that with their streams, but that's a different story for, a different time. We'll get into that later.
No, that's real, because I think everybody's getting kind of caught up right now.
Yes.
They don't see the bigger picture just yet. And, where I saw this guy talk about it on somebody else's podcast, and he was just like, gaming streamers are a thing of the past, and you got to be a IRL streamer and this, that. And I'm like, you can do whatever you want to on streaming as long as your goal is community.
Yeah, for sure.
I like watching people play video games. I do that just for shits and gigs,
Exactly.
It's like, that'll be on in the background while I'm programming stuff for work, or I'm working with a client or something. Like,
yeah.
So it's not really that those things are dying. It's just that your focus has to shift from this idea of being this billboard to actually being like a community leader.
Yes.
And a lot of people are not making that jump because it's a scary thing. Like, to be a leader in general, it's very scary. That's why a lot of people started streaming, because it was like, it's a one-person sport. You don't have to worry about anybody else. You don't have to, go too far outside of your own comfort to be in this sport. But what we're seeing is, if you want longevity in anything, there's a really, really great saying that I've been telling my team and just people in general. And that is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you have to go together.
True. Yeah. That's how it.
It's like, sorry.
So I want to argue with you, but nah. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah.
That is dope. We're going to go ahead and switch over to words of advice, because throughout the podcast, you've been dropping gems, and I appreciate it. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk to whoever you want, give it whatever advice you want. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
It's all yours.
I'm like, where's my little trophy? Here we go. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who has been rocking with me. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, but advice that I want to give. So let's talk to both the newbie and the veteran, because I feel like there is something that they have in common.
Okay.
And that is this will to want to do this. It's like, oh God. It gets so unnerving, and it's so hard to stay motivated, right? So I would dare say to just keep it simple, right? I made a post the other day, and it was a looped video of me holding a cup of coffee with a prompt on the screen that just said that this is your sign to keep creating content. And the caption of that is the advice that I'm about to give. And that is, when it feels overwhelming, when it feels like you don't want to do it anymore, when it feels like just turning on the camera is just too much, I want you to know that you are not alone, number one. Number two, I know for a fact that in your phone you have thousands and thousands and thousands of video that did not make the cut. Whether it's B-roll, whether it's you talking about something else, whatever. Keep it simple. Even if you just have it as a video of yourself doing what we're doing right now, muted, POV, something. If you absolutely feel like you have to post. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up about these trends. They always change. These algorithms, they always change. But if you can stay true to self, and if self is saying you need to rest, you need to rest. If self is saying that it's too much to do something new, listen. Because you probably already have something that you can put out. There's just so many different ways that you can repurpose content. And there's a lot of old shit that you put out that didn't get any numbers because you wasn't popping yet. Right. Repost that.
Please
I've been reposting my old Facebook stuff, and it's been going crazy. And I'm like,
that's dope.
Because it was popping back then. You fools just didn't see it. You know?
Right? I need a sound of clap. I need a sound alert for claps, because it was hot. Y'all just didn't realize it.
Man, I've been hot in these streets.
Yes.
Y'all just showed up to the block. Like, what are we talking about?
And honestly, I've been saying the same thing. That It's always my thought on any content that you put out, even if it's like some of your first content you put out. Like after you're done, you have a sense of it's out. I did it. My idea's out of my head. It's high. You just need to wait for the people to find it, and it will happen. You just got to be consistent.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to force it on people. Let me tell you,
yes.
I did something like this recently, so I can speak to it. There was this video of this man crying in his car after he got done sparring with this dude because he put on the captions like, you know, when you do something and you have that moment of like, damn, should I even be doing this? Like, I'm not good, you know?
Yes.
So I literally wrote in his comment section, I said, hey, if you took this video and you added the music from Set It Off, when Queen Latifah was about to die, and there comes a time. I said, do that. He didn't do it. Bet. I did it. So I did it the first time.
Okay.
No love. None. You hear me? None. 5 likes.
Yeah.
100 views. Dead in the water. I said, y'all tripping. This is funny. This is great content. You're not going to tell me it's not great. So what did I do? I repurposed it.
Yeah.
I put it back up. Same audio, same clip, everything changed one word on the screen.
Yeah.
Pop.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. When there's only a few pieces of content that will not do that, and that's just like if it's absolutely trash. And we know trash content. That's so sorry. True. There's people that be like, there is a such thing as trash content, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's only a few times that does not work. But if it's a good idea, I promise you, fam, you can repurpose it and it will pop.
That was wild.
I knew it though. That's the thing. That's to have that faith in yourself. I've been in the game.
True. Yeah, it's just like, no, this is going to pop.
Man, I've been out here, Jamal.
You right. Okay, I like that. Now, did you circle around and go back to homie and was like, hey man, I told you, or you just let him live?
When he see it. But
yeah, for sure.
You know, the song that he chose was good because he did the same, you know, concept.
Yeah.
And he has a bunch of followers, so it doesn't matter what he does. If he put freaking the theme to Bambi on there, he would have people that would just.
That's true. That is true.
This is great.
This is amazing. Trash.
You know, and that's fine. I love that for him. I love that he has his community.
For sure.
I love that it works in that way because some of my content is that way too. If I don't show my face on a piece of content, sometimes my followers get mad. Like, yo, where you at? I'm like, can I have an off day?
You know what I'm saying?
I got sleep in my eyes. I don't want to be on camera. I'm sorry.
You're like, we need to see it. Sorry.
And it's wild. But sometimes, and this is where it gets tricky too, because when you're being inspired by other creators, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure that it's actual inspiration where you can actually derive off of it and not just swagger jack the creator, which I sound old when I say swagger jack because that was a term in 2005.
I didn't feel that, but I'm old, so I was like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he said, don't be a culture vulture and just take a person's thing verbatim. And that's why I get really, really weirded out when people do that type of stuff.
Yes.
So make sure that you're infusing your own swag into it or your own, style or whatever. Mm-hmm. Again, if it don't pop the first time and you feel in your heart of hearts that it did good, that it was supposed to do good.
Yeah.
And again, Aaliyah told us, if at first it does not succeed, dust yourself off and try again. Amen.
Hey, man. But the Congress, ain't no way. Oh my God. What is happening now? That was dope. Holy
the book
shit.
Of Aaliyah.
Aaliyah. This is not happening right now. Danielle, first, before we get to this part, thank you for dropping all of the knowledge you dropped and being entertaining. What the fuck? I always have fun doing this, but laughing and getting out information that is needed for people to hear is always a fun thing. So before we end it for the day, I want to give you a chance to do a call to action. And you know what a call to action is. I'm not even going to explain it to you. Go ahead.
We got a couple of call to actions. Well, if you're at all interested in this voice telling you this information, I share a lot of this type of information on my social media platforms at the Danielle J. Danielle spelled with 2 N's in case, anybody's like, oh, I couldn't find you. Nah, fam. You probably spelled it wrong.
Exactly.
And it's okay. We'll get you right. So at the Danielle J. Also, I have a radio show that goes live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time called Donuts, Coffee, and Tech, where we talk about the current happenings in technology news. I give you really dope tips for the week so that you can improve your presence online. We share all kinds of tools and resources. We have interviews with people in technology. We do all kinds of fun stuff over there. And we're actually going to get Jermaine to come on as a guest at some point. But, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So, make sure you check that out every Saturday and follow me on all the social media platforms. I have a YouTube channel, everything. So we'll do all that.
And as always, all of her links will be in the show notes of this episode. And if you haven't already, why haven't you shared the podcast with your friends? Uploaded and Unfiltered, we talk to at least one content creator a month. It's more like 3 or 4, but I am going to say this now. I will be implementing more knowledge episodes from me, just about mindsets and procrastination and imposter syndrome and all kinds of stuff like that, just because I feel like it's my duty to remind people that fear is fake. I mean, it's real. We feel it. But we be feeling it at the wrong times. You know what I'm saying? Like, before we go live, we should not feel fear because we're safe. Everything's good. And we're about to do what we do and entertain people. So it's my goal to get everybody back in a good mindset, as they say. I don't know where that voice came from. But anyway.
As it were.
I'm telling you. And before we get off, I'm going to say this. As of right now, there's this random ass video that I put up in regards to my collection. It is going crazy. I think it's at like 90,000 views on TikTok. And all it was me being my damn self, talking about stuff that I liked. And that's it. Like, I didn't have a script. I was just like, this is going to be fun. So what I want to say is, if you have something that you are passionate about, that you are excited about, just get in front of a camera, talk about it, and just upload it. You never know what's going to happen.
Never know.
Danielle, thank you. I appreciate this. Can't wait to be. I told everybody I was going to be on the radio. I didn't even know if that was official. And you was like, yo, you want to be on the radio? I'm like, hell yeah. And now everybody, my kids know, they're like, you're going to be on the radio? I was like, I know it's not TV, but we're working our way up.
Right. That's right. No, it's going to be great.
Hell yeah. And I will be, I'm not even joking about Call of Duty. I'm reaching out. We got to do something on stream. I feel like that'd be a fun time. Maybe we make you play Repo. I don't know. We'll see. She's like, hell no.
I'm down. No, I'm down.
All right, dope. Well, other than that, everyone, thank you for listening. I appreciate y'all. And as always, protect your mental, keep creating content, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.